What is up, everybody, and welcome back to episode 10 of our Team Sky Career Mode, the last episode of this season. I'm going to go ahead and apologize right off the bat for my voice. I have been very sick this week, so I'm going to be a little raspy, going to be a little gross, but we're going to get this season ended the right way with our top objective and our tour of our home turf, the Tour of Britain. 2.pro race that's filled with hill stages, so we should be good to go for this one. But before we get into the race, we are going to have to choose our equipment suppliers for next season. And honestly, for this, I'm just going to go with some of my favorites. So with wheels, you can see who we have offers from, but I think we're going to go ahead and stick with Zip. They are, in my opinion, the best wheel maker in this game, and we've had success with them this season. And as for frames, we seem to have our choice of the lot, but I have narrowed it down to 3: BMC, Canyon, and Pinarello. But I think Canyon has some pretty close ties to Great Britain, so I think we are going to be riding on Canyon bikes next season. And for the group set, I'm just going to go with what I have on my bike at home, Shimano, and it's a 2-year contract, so we are definitely going to be happy with that. But that will take us to the start of Stage 1, Aberdeen to Glenshee Ski Center, a 175.7 kilometer hill stage, and again, we have a team that's perfectly suited for this. Ben Healy is going to be one to watch, Oscar Onley as well. So I think we should be pretty heavy favorites in this race. We've brought, a much stronger team than everybody else. Ben Turner, Jan Trotnik are other threats to GC, but we should have enough about our team to comfortably take this one. And we are here with just under 10k to go. That last climb looming in the one-man break has only 29 seconds, and it's time for Antonio Tiberi to hit the front. Tom Gloag is really going to lead us out once we get to the base of that climb with his 92 effort on the hills. Right now, Tiberi doing a good job getting us to the front, and we're going to move him up to 86. With 6k left, we're going to pop the energy gels with about 4.5k to go, maybe 4. But Antonio Tiberi starting to put the pace down and starting to put the other teams under a little bit of pressure. It's going to be hard to come around. We're going to just keep ramping that up, and now everybody's energy gel is going to get used. And Tom Gloag is about to take over on the front right about now. Nope. How about right about now? And Tiberi can just kind of do his own thing. Gloag is really going to be putting the hurt on these teams that don't have great hill stats, and Fred Wright's going to be in a great position to win this stage as Tom Gloag goes ahead and attacks. Ben Healy can start his sprint next, followed by Oscar Onley, and that's going to lead out Fred Wright, the last man with any red bar left. But it looks like Oscar Onley might hold him off, and he just will, to take Stage 1 of the Tour of Britain. It's going to be top 4 all Team Sky, with a little bit of a gap back to Ben Turner in 5th place. And there we see Oscar Onley on the top step of the podium. But name me a more dominant performance than Team Sky at the Tour of Britain. Team Jumbo-Visma at La Vuelta, eat your heart out, as we have 4 riders who can compete for GC and try and take it away from Sepp Kuss. But also Oscar Onley sitting there on the top of the leaderboard with Fred Wright, Ben Healy, and Tom Gloag. Then 23 seconds back to Maurice Ballerstedt. But Ben Turner is the one we have to keep our eye on, already 24 seconds down after Stage 1. And that will take us straight into Stage 2, Hawick to Duns. 169.9 kilometer hill stage. The nice little downhill finish. I think with his 99% fitness. This is going to be one for Oscar Onley. Fred Wright also on a +3 day. Tom Gloag will be riding for Ineos Grenadiers next year, so sadly he is dead to us for the rest of this season. So it's going to be one of Ben Healy, Oscar Onley, and Fred Wright looking to compete for this Tour of Britain win. And we are here with 27K left to go. Break still has about a minute and a half, but we are going to try and push the pace up all of these hills, see if we can make it tough for the other riders, because I think with us bringing our A-team to this race, we're going to have a huge advantage in these hills. And if we just ride like Jumbo-Visma does in real life and just push the pace because nobody can follow us, I think that's going to be our ticket to win here. And we are here with about 9K left. We are 4 kilometers away from the top of the last hill, and Tom Gloag is pushing the pace. We are getting ready to attack with Ben Healy, and hopefully Oscar Onley and Fred Wright can follow. Tom Gloag really putting the power down now, and with about 1.5 left, we're going to go ahead and attack with Ben Healy. We'll let Gloag sit up, and then once we get to the top of this hill, we're going to try to attack over with Oscar Onley and keep Fred Wright on his wheel. But it looks like right now we do have Onley and Fred Wright on their own. Gloag did his job, Healy did his job, and now it's going to be on Fred Wright with about 1.2 left to go to start his sprint. We have a little bit of a gap to the group behind us, and it is going to be Fred Wright coming across the line in first place, followed by Mick Van Dijk, Stefano Oldani, and Oscar Onley in 4th place. But that little gap should get Fred Wright straight into the leader's jersey. And if we take a look at the podium here, we can see what we already knew. Fred Wright, Mick Van Dijk, Stefano Oldani make up your podium, followed by Oscar Onley, but unfortunately no time gap there. So if we go ahead and take a look at the GC, Fred Wright will jump into first place, followed by Oscar Onley, Ben Healy, and Tom Gloag, still retaining that top 4. Stefano Oldani moves up into 5th place, but I don't think he's going to be a huge threat here come the end of the race. And that will take us to Stage 3, Durham to Sunderland, a 161.7 kilometer flat stage. And with how boring these flat stages have been, we didn't really bring a sprinter. I think we're going to go ahead and skip the flat stages unless there's one that looks like we could make a move there towards the second half of the race. And after we simulated Stage 3, Jordi Meus, Mark Cavendish, and Matthew Walls made up the podium, so nothing shaken up in the GC. As we can see, we still own the top 4 with Stefano Oldani 26 seconds behind. And we have arrived at Stage 4, Redcar at Duncombe Park, which is in Helmsley apparently. It's going to be a 149.9 kilometer hill stage. Looks more like a false flat sprint finish, but we'll see what we can do with this one. Fred Wright can win in those uphill sprint finishes, but I don't know with the caliber of sprinter we have here if he's going to be able to pull this one off. And we have made it to 11.5 Ks to go. The last climb before that little false flat finish, and attacks are starting to be made. It's going to be Oldani, Romo, Sobrero, Trotnik, Camille Bonneau, all looking to try and beat us to the top of this last hill. The break still has about half a minute, but we are not going to let that go. Tom Gloag doing a great job closing it down, and we are over the hill in one piece, so we are going to go ahead and set a pretty decent pace. Jan Trotnik actually trying to attack downhill. It seems like a pretty decent strategy on this stage, but with the pace we're keeping, we still have Ben Healy left to take over. I think we're going to be just fine. Tom Gloag does need to use all of his energy now, unfortunately, but Ben Healy set to take over, and from here on out it is the Fred Wright show. With about 4K left, we're going to go ahead and pop all of our energy gels. Leo Hayter on a +3 day, also in position to try and win this stage. We're going to tell Gloag to go ahead and sit down. His day is done. And with 1.8k left, Ben Healy is going to start his attack. And with 1k to go, Fred Wright's going to start to sprint. Oscar Onley and Leo Hayter can also start his sprint. But as you can see up the road, it's going to be 2 stages in a row for Fred Wright. And he is going to be followed by Hugo Page and Oscar Onley. Ben Healy also getting into the top 5. And Leo Hayter coming in 6th place. A great finish for him. And there we see again Fred Wright on the top of the podium. And if we go ahead and take a look at GC, he is going to be up on Oscar Onley by 12 seconds now. 27 back to Ben Healy, 34 to Hugo Page, and 36 back to Stefano Oldani. And we are still in such a commanding position here at the Tour of Britain. And up next we have another flat stage that will be simulated, Stage 5, West Bridgeford to Mansfield, 182.5 kilometer flat stage. And like I've said before, we don't really have a sprinter here, so we're just going to skip these and race the ones that actually matter. And after Stage 5, Ben Turner did win, to everybody's surprise, on this sprint stage, but that has moved him to within 30 seconds of Fred Wright. Again, I think we've built enough of a lead up with 3 of our riders where we can kind of stay in front of him with a different myriad of tactics that we can use, but still a little bit concerning that one of the simulated stages gave that much time to Ben Turner. And that will take us to Stage 6, Tewkesbury to Gloucester, a 170 kilometer hill stage that looks like as long as we stay with the front group over those last 2 hills, it should be kind of a sprint finish, a downhill sprint finish, so not one that we're going to excel at on paper, but we're going to try and throw Fred Wright in the mix anyway. And with 12.5k, we have reached Gloucester Hill, the last climb of the day. Tom Gloag is going to be on the front. We are really going to push the pace here, try to recover on the downhill as the break still has a minute and a half on the rest of the field, and we don't want to drop our own riders just yet as Zdenek Stybar looks to make a move, but Tom Gloag doing wonderfully to catch that front group. We cut the gap down to about 18 seconds. We're going to move it down. We're going to try and save some of his energy for the final here. Oscar Onley actually recovering much better than I thought he would, so we're going to go ahead and ramp that back up. Oscar Onley going to get ready to take over after this as Gloag looks to be just about done already. And with 6k left, we're going to go ahead and pop the energy gel on everybody. Still 17 seconds to the group in front, right before Oscar Onley takes over. Not at 70. We do not want to slow the pace that much. Tom Gloag can kind of do his own thing as Stybar and Ben Turner look to go. We cannot afford to let that go as Ben Healy and Fred Wright's energy gels popping just now. Onley can go ahead and start his sprint. Ben Healy as well, followed by Fred Wright with 0.8 left. Oscar Onley in front, but it's going to be Fred Wright. It is going to be just Fred Wright ahead of Bob Stannard. Ben Healy coming in third, and that's going to make 3 hill stages in a row for Fred Wright, but that one was a lot closer than we would have liked it to be. And a familiar sight once again, Fred Wright standing on the top step of the podium at the Tour of Britain. And if we take a look at GC, he is going to be in the lead by 22 seconds over Oscar Onley, 33 back to Ben Healy, and then 40 seconds back to Ben Turner. So outside of a major catastrophe, with 1 flat stage and 1 hill stage left, I think Team Sky is well on their way to the season objective. And Stage 7 is going to be another flat stage, a 172.9 kilometer stage from West Bay to Ferndown. And it's going to be another one that we skip past. It looks pretty flat there towards the end, so maybe Turner makes up some time, but at this point in the race, I'm not too worried about that. And after Stage 7, we can see Ben Turner did win again, picks up the 10 bonus seconds. So he actually goes ahead of Ben Healy into third place. So on stage 8, it all comes down to Fred Wright and Oscar Onley, 30 seconds back to Ben Turner. Still not worried about it at all, but we'll see what happens. And here is the stage profile for that stage 8 ride to the Needles. 143.2 kilometer hill stage. Doesn't look like there's any major elevation. We should be good on controlling that finish there. And the objective is obviously just get Fred Wright, Oscar Onley, and Ben Healy to the top of that final climb in one piece. And with 9K to go, we have reached the first bit of this last elevation. And T-Berry is leading out our team, but he is almost done for the day. And it's going to be Tom Gloag's turn to take over and lead Healy, Onley, and Fred Wright to that finish line. But the break still has a minute-and-a-half advantage. We're hoping we can catch up to that on that final climb. But T-Berry done for the day. His job is over. He did a fantastic job. And with 4.5k left, we're going to go ahead and use the energy gel on all of our guys. That gap still hanging out at about a minute-and-a-half, but it looks like riders are dropping. Of course, nobody up there is going to threaten our GC hopes, but Tom Gloag is going to have to use just a little bit more energy than I feel comfortable with getting over that last hill, and Ben Healy's going to sprint up this final climb. Oscar Onley's going to go, and Fred Wright as well. All we are trying to do right now is stay with Ben Turner, and it looks like we are going to do that. Ben Healy's sprint never actually went off. Oscar Onley actually going to jump in front of Ben Turner, but it's going to be Patrick Gamper, Cyrus Monk, Jose Joaquin Rojas, and Oscar Onley coming in fourth place, and Fred Wright almost comes around on Ben Turner, but I think that is going to secure our GC win in our home tour. And there we can see Patrick Gamper winning from the break on the last stage of the Tour of Britain. But if we look at the GC, Fred Wright does end up winning by 22 seconds over Oscar Onley, followed by Ben Turner, Hugo Page, Bob Stannard, and Ben Healy down in 6th. So top 2, we did kind of fall off there towards the end with Ben Healy, and Gloag was in 4th for a little bit, but I mean, we got to be absolutely ecstatic with that, as Giacomo Balabio wins the best climber, which of course we didn't fight for. The points classification goes to Ben Turner, again, no surprise there. Well, I thought Fred Wright would probably be closer, but still well deserved for Ben Turner. And young rider going to Fred Wright as well, no shock there, as he also won the GC. And I bet you can guess who won the team classification in a shocking event. It was Team Sky by 3 minutes and 57 seconds over Alpecin Deceuninck, and overall domination in our first home tour with the next generation of Team Sky. And now that the season has ended, we will do a little recap. The Giro d'Italia was won by Enric Mas. The Tour de France taken by Jonas Vingegaard. And La Vuelta also won by Enric Mas, so Mas doing a double in the Grand Tours. It seems like it was a great year for him and for Movistar. But besides that, I mean, nothing else too surprising. Maybe Dario Cataldo in the climber's jersey at the Giro is a little bit of a surprise, but nothing too crazy on the other Grand Tours. If we take a look at who won the World Tour races, you can see everybody here. Oscar Onley ended up winning the Tour de Pologne, something we did not show. It was a simulated race, so that wasn't even me doing it. I couldn't screw it up, so Oscar Onley went ahead and took the win. But moving on to the championships, Alex Kirsch, world champion. Get used to it. He's the best in the world. Danny Martinez won the world championships in the time trial. Wout van Aert won the European Championship road race, and Pipo Ganna won the European time trial in no surprise. But in the national championships, Davide Formolo at Italy, Mads Pedersen at Denmark, Oscar Onley in the UK, Julien Alaphilippe in France, Peo Bilbao in Spain, Wout van Aert in Belgium, Mathieu van der Poel in the Netherlands, and Phil Bauhaus in Germany. All very strong champions who probably do deserve to wear those jerseys for the next season. And the monuments were taken by Wout van Aert at Milano San Remo, who Wout van Aert seems like he had a great season. I wasn't paying too much attention to what was going on in the World Tour, but his name just pops up on everything. And Benoit Cosnefroy wins the Ronde van Vlaanderen, and Mathieu van der Poel takes Paris-Roubaix, Remco Evenepoel wins Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and Primoz Roglic wins Il Lombardia. And the other classics, you can see the winners here. I won't name all of them, but looks like a couple Mathieu van der Poel and more of the likely candidates afterwards. And next we are going to take a look at our team for next season, who it should be confirmed in 5 days will be riding in the World Tour. And this is going to be our team for the next season. And since the transfer deadline for us, Santiago Buitrago has gained another half star, as well as Jan Christen already up to a 4-star, and Emil Herzog up to a 3.5 star. But if you take a look, we did lose Tom Gloag. We ended up losing Lucas Narukar and one other rider. I think it was either Finley Pickering or Max Holliman will all be riding for Ineos next year. But I think we got the better end of the deal there with Santiago Buitrago, Mark Hirschi, Ilan van Wilder, Ide Skelling, Jan Christen, the re-signing of Leo Hayter, Max van der Meulen, Emil Herzog, and Vlad van Mechelen, adding to what is already a strong team. But with those Grand Tours coming up, I think we have 3 really strong GC candidates with Buitrago, Van Wilder, and even Max Poole can get in there. I think for probably the Giro or La Vuelta, we will have maybe Mark Hirschi. He can kind of do a bit of everything. He's not going to be a real force in the mountains, but if there are some stages that can utilize the downhill to get some time at the finish, we will definitely look to make him a GC candidate in one of them. But I really like the look of our team for next year. I think there's a lot to get excited about, and I think we can make some noise in our first year in the UCI World Tour. But as I said before, that will end it for this episode, and the next episode will be the start of a new season. And before we get to that, I wanted to say thank you for all the support on this first year. We're gonna look to keep this going for I'm shooting for at least 4 seasons, probably 10 episodes per season. But the amount of support and the comments are just incredible. I love you guys so much, and sorry this episode I've sounded a little bit gross, but the week has not been very fun. I think I have RSV. So I am finally on the tail end of that, feeling better every day. But if you enjoyed this content, please feel free to subscribe. The next episode will be out next Saturday, and I try to upload at least one video during the week of our Pro Cyclist mode. And if you like the video, that helps out a lot too. Feel weird begging for it. I'm still not super comfortable talking to nobody. That's what it feels like when I'm just sitting here talking at my computer, but next season's going to be better. But just wanted to say thank you, and I will see you later.